Elections have become the most acceptable means of changing leadership in any given political system. There are elements that make electorates vote or not vote in an election. These elements are different and dependent on social, cultural, economic, and political backgrounds of the nation and the voters at one point or the other. According to an NOI poll, political aspirants, political parties, and traditional media, that's TV and radio and newspapers, are some of the main factors that affect the voting behavior of Nigerian voters. We still have Adewale Adekola, public affairs analyst, and joining us again is Chukwuma Okenwa. He's the convener of Youth Decides Nigeria. Thank you, gentlemen, once again for joining us.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Let's look at some of these parameters that have been set. You know, looking at the factors that influence voters. Now, we've clearly stated that mostly it's psychological. It depends on the media, and some people will even say it depends on campaigns. I mean, according to a poll that was put together. In Nigeria, while they were doing that poll, 41% of the people that were assessed said they were voting because of the political aspirants. So that was what affected them. Some people said, it's the party I know, I don't know who's running, but I'm voting for the party. Some other people say, well, I see this person on the TV every other day, I hear his name on the radio, so that's the one we're voting for. And the most intriguing thing in this research shows that more women were influenced by the aspirants, the personalities, and more men were mostly influenced by what they saw in the media. One would think it would be the other way around. But this is intriguing. More findings also show that almost 4 in every 10 Nigerian, which is about 38% of Nigerians, are willing to accept a gift from a politician or any aspirant if they offer. The question is, why? I'll start with you. Okay. Because you're the man who's talking about people deciding to do the right thing. So why is it that 38% is a lot of people? And these people are willing, if you give, I will take. That's what it means. And the question is why?
The basic issue from interacting with people at the grassroots, they believe that these politicians, you get to see them once in 4 years. So if you don't take the opportunity to get it now, you lose it all. You understand? So it's a mindset. And of course, we present the option of saying, for the same reasons why you collect this money, also justify the reasons why you should demand for something better. And that is good governance. Because if for someone you voted for 4 years, forgets you and then come back 4 years to demand for your support, that is enough to get you angry. You understand? You know, so Nigerians must step up that game to demand for good government. Because if someone gives you maybe 1,000, 5,000 or 10,000, I mean, it does not in any way make sense. You understand? And then another thing I also want, I get so obsessed, I get so angry, right? When I hear people say, is that some people actually collect these monies because of hunger in the land. You know, but I think it just has to do with our value system. You understand? Because before then, it's not the politician that have been feeding you. Maybe you just receive 2,000, and the next thing is to head to a beer parlor, you know, drink beer, take pepper soup, and of course that's not the behavior of a hungry man. I would have expected, if you were hungry all this while, you just get maybe mudu of gari, right? Cook soup that could last for 2 weeks, then that could justify that you're actually trying to fight hunger with something that is not sustainable.
Adewale, what do you think?
We also look at, let's cross over to the United States of America, where we looked at the elections that brought in President Donald Trump, based on the conversations and people's following, just based by the personalities, which seems to influence voters' patterns. One would have thought that Hillary Clinton would have emerged president, but there was a twist of fate. Now in Nigeria as well, in 2015, I think some reports said, well, people bought into the idea of the Buhari administration because they saw his personality as a no-nonsense individual and does not take any of those wishy-washy stances on things. He's strict and goes head on. But do you think we have in the behavior of voters, do you think there's any time we would shift away from that personality? Because we've said that you don't build strong individuals, you rather build strong institutions. So aren't we supposed to be a little bit more hungry beyond just the personality that comes to meet us at the end of the day, knocking on your door for a vote?
Thank you very much. You know, like from the intro, it's a combination of various factors. Because you see, in our electoral system, any person contesting an election must first be introduced by a political party. Having been introduced, your personality comes to fore. That makes a combination of two critical things. But unfortunately, this may only sell to a people that are intellectually sound. Hello? These two combinations may sell to a people that are intellectually sound because, one, having been introduced by a party, then your personality pedigree, if at all any. But you see, in the Nigerian domain, the party, with or without pedigree, would first push you out. Then you, being the person being pushed out by the party, as well, with or without pedigree, will come out. And then, with the support of the media and some accolades of immoralities, so to say, electioneering immoralities, you are there. You know, late Chief Obafemi Awolowo said something. He said, if you want to continually enslave a people, give them illiteracy, both of the mind and of the pocket. So the moment the people are impoverished in the mind and in their pocket, anything can be sold to them. That's why you see the concept of vote buying. I said, for every vote buying, there's a corresponding vote selling. And that tells us to the fact that a lot of people are mad. I'm sorry, you know, madness is doing the same thing the same way over time and expecting a different result. But how do we achieve a different result if we do not seek to change our processes? You know, there are extant electioneering processes in Nigeria. They were concocted and they were conjured on us and they were foisted on us.
Such as?
Whoever you hear knocking on the eve of the election becomes the person to be voted.
How does that even work?
Yeah. My experience in the banking sector made me exposed to the fact that when it is just some few hours to election, money physically begins to flow. And you see, with the interaction we had in 2015, on the eve of elections, monies, large cash, volume of cash, exchange hands, and they go knocking, giving to people. In my state, Ondo State, there was a song, and it was Diboko Sebe. Hello?
What does that mean for the benefit of those who do not understand?
That while you are coming to vote, you come and you will be empowered to cook a pot of soup. Meaning, the dividends for an investment that is yet to be battered electorally, you are earning it on that day.
Wow.
And you know, it's so sad that the bulk of the people that get entrapped in this are successful because of voters' apathy.
Wow.
How do I mean? The few of us speaking big English on TV sets this way, we don't go back to be part of the electioneering process. We leave the people that have been enmeshed in serious economic inadequacies. That maybe on the eve of the election, just a dangle of 5,000 naira changes their destinies on short term.
But does it? I want to disagree with you a bit. Back to that research or that poll that was carried out. Now, I did tell you that 38% of the population are willing to accept a gift from a political party or an aspirant if offered. But then, the majority, which is 62%, would like to receive money as a gift. They're specific. Now, however, when asked if that gift would influence, you know, their decision to vote whoever is the giver, 12% of them admitted it would certainly affect their choice. So 62 minus 12 leaves you with 50. So do those gifts necessarily sway people from this poll?
Sorry, if you go a bit more statistical, what you sampled or you based your conclusion on will not be representational of the electoral volume in Nigeria. If I may share something with you. While we were going about some things, I said the people with electoral values that are required to perpetuate anybody in office are the illiterates and the economically dampened. Who will, one, as we are speaking English now, they are not by the TV sets. They don't listen to this. Tomorrow morning, they wouldn't be at the newspaper stand. Neither would they listen to newspaper analysis. They are somewhere taking a kind of lifestyle they believe is better for them. So when it is time, you see, the 2015 election in Ekiti State, when the election was over and the figures were rolled out, less than 10% of registered voters voted. And that defeated primarily the objective of democracy. Because unfortunately, of 4.8 million, only 480,000 voted, meaning a large number of the real humans of that society did not take part in the election. Like Nigeria today, we are about 200 million. We have about 69 or 74 million with card and with voters card. Out of which, the 2015 election, less than 15 million voted. It's never representational. And unfortunately, the few that even turn up are those bedeviled by poverty. And they are willing to sell even their heads for peanuts.
But then it brings the issue, it brings to the
mental laziness.
The issue of voter education. I was listening to a show this morning, and they were talking about, the fact that so many Nigerians have no clue what the logos of these political parties 62. Who are running for, who are going to be fielding candidates are. And the reason is because they only know two political parties, which have always been in their faces, and mostly have produced almost everything else they know, everybody else they know, apart from maybe if you go a little bit down to the southeast where you have a certain party with a cock. Apart from that, they know the umbrella and they know the broom. How much education is there? So they might know a Marianne who wants to run on the platform of a desk, but do they know that because they don't have the pictures of the contestants, they have the logos of the party. How do they know that that girl from our community that we know very well would do a good job? How do they know that that's her party's logo? They don't know it. So how much information is out there? Because we're still talking about those people who are dampened, those people who are not so aware. What kind of election are we preparing for? It makes me wonder.
It should really be part of the strategies of the political parties to engage the masses, the citizens, on what represents their party. Of course, I'm aware of the recent campaign that NOA launched, and the campaign centers on reducing the incidences of void votes, because there was so much of invalid votes in the last 2015 elections. Over 800,000 votes were invalid because people could not, do it the right way. So, but beyond that, because even when INEC or NOA demonstrates such, they won't even use any of the name of the parties. They could just pick maybe 3 letters that does not represent any party, just to give you an instance of what it is like. So it is there for the parties, and of course, a situation where maybe a party that wants to run for an election, you're a new party, and you only getting maybe accreditation and being promulgated just maybe 2 months to the primaries. I mean, that's not too strategic.
Adewale, now we also know that all these adverts and campaigns are synonymous to elections, just like when it's almost time for Christmas and then you get a whiff of the smell of the Harmattan.
Yep.
These days we no longer smell that Harmattan so strongly, and fortunately or unfortunately, we don't see any more of the floods of adverts and pools of campaign posts and all of those. It's just seemingly quietly floating.
Yep.
How do you think this would also affect the voting pattern come this year?
Definitely it will affect, because, you see, there's something about Montessori education. Montessori enables you to have a mental attachment to a concept. So even in the dark, you are able to lay your hands thereon. So sad. Either the people got disenfranchised mentally because of the attitudinal disposition to the leadership. And because I have some friends.
No, but this time is the political parties
not even the political. No, the political parties may not be able to push as much now because of the standard over the years. And the standard over the years have been, not until it is election time, they will not pump out money to run campaigns. Not that they would have been with the people in the course of their governance. It took 4 years or 3.5 years.
Adewale, I would like you to understand that we just have barely how many days?
Just 29 days.
29 days.
The election. See, there's something wrong. There's something here. And what has been here is that a lot of people thought that when it will be the wee hours, late night to election, they will come out to do what they've been doing that same way.
I'll paint a scenario to you to buttress what he said. In River State, we all are aware of what the court judgment and how it affects the APC. There also have been, reactions as to the fact that, hey, the PDP in River State is not doing anything because they feel like they have no competition. So you're not seeing any form of campaigning. So, I mean, again, the governor doesn't see the need why he should campaign because there is no Tonye Cole. And that doesn't mean that there are not other governorship aspirants, but it runs across, but there's some sort of a dampener that has been put on it. So it's like, oh, well, we know what's going to happen. But what about the electorate? It looks like we've just been pushed out of the whole picture. It's just, whatever happens, happens.
Let me say something, it is said that since the birds have learned how to, fly without perching, hunters have learned how to shoot without
missing.
Like the issue is that the voting pattern, right, and technicalities have been changing over time. And of course, in 2015, the card readers was introduced, so it reduced the incidences of carrying a ballot box and the usual way of politicking. So the strategy now our politicians have deployed is vote buying. They see it as something more viable than campaigning and shouting. Because over time, you understand, they discover that in some places...
So save the large chunks for
if I'm to give an instance, there is a particular state, Edo State to be precisely, where a certain party seemingly was, very powerfully doing well during the campaigning process. But just a night to the election, there was this group that went door to door, coming that this person said we should greet you, dole out cash, and eventually it turned out in their favor. And that's exactly also what happened in Ekiti State. You understand? Where votes were swayed with cash. So I think, and I told people, I said, don't just see it that this silence, is golden. Silence that is dangerous and have lots of things. Because when politicians are silent, it means there is something going on there.
But it makes me wonder that you cannot have an Okrika market, which is booming, if there are not people who are patronizing the Okrika market. So there is a market for these votes to be bought. There are people who have votes readily to sell.
Yeah, sure.
So it means that we are enabling this vote buying issue because INEC has come out to say we really can't help with this issue. It's not something we can really deal with.
And
the most we can do is what we have done.
There's something I picked up to this that you have just highlighted. You see, the issue of the fight against corruption. Because if you were in Nigeria in 2015, when it was just even a year to the election, money was flowing all around. Even state governments, government agencies were pulling out, they were bringing out money. But now, with the sheriff in town, a lot are afraid of bringing out money. Hello? You don't see the volume of campaign, electioneering campaign, that usually greeted our elections anymore because people are afraid of sponsoring those things. I can categorically tell you that. Because look at what we have around, even Lagos State, our present Lagos State.
But in Lagos State, we have the APC governorship candidate of the APC. We see he's virtually staring in your face, and it says, well, his own excuse is that he's a first-timer. He has to introduce himself to the whole public. So you see a banner standing there with his image and all of those.
All those.
And so don't you think, well, he's just pushing the regular trend and then hoping for the best?
He's not hoping for the best. He's sorting out the best for himself.
But we now ask the question, where do these monies now come to make sure that you massage the electorate in the right
Are you saying
manner?
when or where?
Where? Yes.
I sang a song. In 2015, when the highways were a bit free, you had 13 billion vehicles moved out cash from the CBN. Some few days to general election. Those monies were being shared all over.
Allegedly.
Now, luckily allegedly. Now, people live in fear of repeating sin. Because you saw the Enugu cash. Because if you move about certain sums of money now, you may be net immediately. So a lot of people are afraid of introducing the same cash, financial inducement, into electioneering processing.
Will this affect the outcome of the election?
Definitely, the outcome is already affected. A lot of people are not aware, like you have said, because this that we are doing now, ordinarily more enlightenment via the media ought to have been because of this election. But now that it's not there, either because the legitimate or the illegitimate funding is not available, the people will get it, and the voter and the beneficiaries of the election will get it as well.
Chukwuma, do you think ethnic lines this time around will still come strongly in play? Yes, we know the North has the numbers, and the Southwest is also pushing and agitating, and now the PDP is also flagging Peter Obi as the vice presidential candidate of the PDP. Do you think we would have this following from the ethnic lines? Because some way, somehow, we've seen it's trickle down, water down a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's going to be a factor, but not as much as what we had in 2015. Of course, this is a Fulani running.
Have we gotten smarter?
Fulani, you understand? So what matters in Nigeria, of course, is who is the presidential candidate. We've always known the role that in most cases the vice president could be as good as just a subordinate, right?
No, but the instances where the vice president became acting president, it's still those
we've had such cases. But in the case of 2015, we had a president, Goodluck Jonathan, from the south, and then a Buhari from the north. So he gave room for that. But from my interactions with some of our people in the north, they told me that, in fact, it's like a no-no for a north to be having a contest like that with a northern, and you expect a crisis to evolve.
One last question before we wrap things up. There is a case, I think this was the case last year, where we were going for the lesser, permit me to use the word demon loosely here. You know that case where you say anything but this person? Do you see us making that same mistake in 2019? Well, anybody but this person. Or let's just choose between the devil and the deep blue sea. Whoever seems to be a bit better, we might just manage. As opposed to, let's look for the man who's fit for the job. Not minding whether, whether it's from a small party, a mushroom party, or a big party.
We are not matured for that yet. Nigerians have not gotten to that level yet, because it's a function of mental engagement. You see, two things win elections in Nigeria, particularly general elections: the ruling party, then the place, the ethnic lining of whoever is contesting. In Nigeria, you will become the president of Nigeria if the ruling party throws you up, one. Then number two, if you now have the support of the area that have the number. So either you are from this place, but you must be of the ruling party. If you are not from the ruling party, you must come from where the figures are. But this being aside, there's an issue on ground. And the issue on ground, like I do say, is you have two candidates who are repeaters, so to say. They've been in these positions, and the two of them are coming up. People should not be toasted into listening and rehearing vision statements, campaign promises. But now, missions and testimonials. What did you do? And the last 4 years, what have you? But it's so sad that now the chances are as good as bad. Do you understand? Because now people cannot actually come, because I do ask, I say, when these guys come for campaign, have you asked question? Okay, the last time, what did you do? But such is void. Nobody has such questions. They just come and do the abracadabra and everybody goes. But unfortunately, it's so sad that in Nigeria, the people that bears the electoral value and fortunes that our politicians need are the most downtrodden, who will never be attended to.
Chukwuma.
Yeah, well, I think, in fact, that's what even preoccupied the discussions in the public space now, choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea. And of course, one of the things that could help or that could bring about a scenario where we begin to look at fresh candidates is also strategy. It's better than energy in every case. So when you have a case maybe where someone wants to run for presidency, and all you could see that is 8 months towards the elections or 6 months towards the election, and you want to unseat the ruling parties. I mean, it's not a good enough strategy. So I want technocrats to begin to think 10 years into the future, 8 years into the future, and begin to work their way towards that. With that, we can, begin to have the credible leadership we deserve.
Gentlemen, before we go, I would just like to have your thought. Do you think we're going to see a larger turnout of Nigerian voters come out to vote this time around?
I expect that because the level of awareness and the desire by Nigerians to be part of what happens in governance is much more.
Do you think we would be ready to walk the talk and not just say we want to see something?
Get off Twitter and get to reality.
It will be massive. It will be massive this time around.
Okay, it's been an interesting conversation. We want to thank you very much, Chukwuma Okenwa, convener, Nigeria Youth Decides. Thank you so much for coming. And of course, Mr. Adewale Adekola, public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
All right, well, that's a wrap on Nigeria Decides. Do join us tomorrow by 6 p.m. as we analyze the issues leading up to 2019 elections. I'm Mary Adekola.
And I'm David Alabi. Many thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Good evening.
Have a good evening.